Hello and welcome to another edition of My GRCC Story, the podcast of Grand Rapids Community College, where we get to talk to folks who do really cool things here at GRCC. I'm Dave Murray.
I'm Kaylee Potgetter.
And today we have another super special guest, and this is a student, Lydia Hendrian. And Lydia, welcome to our podcast today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Lydia is in her first year here at GRCC, and she is currently taking classes at the MTech. So Lydia, what are you studying there?
So I'm specifically studying the Automotive Technology Certificate. That's what I'm getting there right now. And it's underneath the Academic Pathways program that they provide there. So.
And what made you decide to come to Grand Rapids Community College and study automotive technology?
Part of it, to be completely honest, I got a scholarship from work, and that pushed me to start going to school. But GRCC was one of the places that was a little bit more affordable for me at the time. And then I've always been a more hands-on person, and I knew I didn't want to do just like classic English, math, a classic pathway for school. So I started looking into their applied technology and the more hands-on programs, and that's kind of what helped me decide that direction. So.
Now, GRCC, a lot of people might not know this, but we have the largest automotive training center in West Michigan.
It's impressive.
Probably this whole side of the state. And there are a lot of folks in the industry who are part of an advisory board who help us figure out what is the best thing to do in these classes. And also, the demand is so high right now for people in this field that they stay pretty close to see who's graduating and when and reaching out to offer jobs.
Very cool. So I know this is your second semester here. How has your experience been so far? Has it been challenging, exciting, all of the above?
I'd say a little bit all of the above. So I started last September around that time. I kind of got into it, wanted to see how it played out, how everything would go. I was a little bit nervous because cars, and I'm a girl, but I really started to enjoy it, and the hands-on aspect of it I really like a lot, and it helps me, I see things a little bit more in a mechanical way, thus mechanics, but it really helps me see things a lot better and go into that. So I was really excited about it, but also a little bit nervous, a combination of both of those.
Yeah, understandable. So when you start, do you walk us through that process? Do you start like in a classroom and then you jump in working on cars? Are you right away hands-on?
So it depends on the class. So usually we have their lab and lecture times.
Okay.
So each class usually has a lab and a lecture. So if it's like a Monday, Wednesday class, say we may have like our lecture on Monday and then Wednesday come in and do our lab time. So that would be the whole class time. Usually a little further on into the semester, we try to do more labs so that we're doing them each of those days. So Monday and Wednesday, we're only spending like a 30-minute class period in the classroom getting some of that. They're teaching us a little bit about some of the stuff that we're using, some of the tools, or just like, this is what we're going to look out for. And then they put us out in the labs, which are the bays, which are basically just really big garages. So, and then we get to do the labs that they have printed off for us. So,
what kinds of things do you work on in the labs?
A lot of things. I can talk about like a class from last semester. I had like a brakes class. It was one of my favorite classes that I did, but we did brake servicing, taking off the tire, taking off all the components of brakes, putting them back on, servicing them, checking brake lines. We learned how to bend brake lines into the proper fashion and then connect them correctly. What is it called? We used it's called a brake lathe is what it is. And you basically grind down like the rotors on a brake so that you can reuse them. We don't use that as much anymore, like modernly now, but just stuff like that. So working on all of those components for that specific part of the car and so we just did labs relating to that.
Is it fun?
It is fun. It's good. Some of it is a little more boring at times, but like I said, specific classes as well, or specific aspects of cars, you really enjoy a lot more. And I don't know, it feels nice to be able to get something done. And then the more boring parts of it, I guess, which is also necessary, is we have like our shop thing that we go on. It's called ShopKey, but you use it to look in you get all the data for all of the cars through here, and you put in what the make, model, all the above, and it brings you up every specific detail about it. And sometimes the more boring thing is we have to fill out like sheets of data on it and like all the different specifications for it. So it's obviously very necessary so that you fix the car correctly, but it can be a little more frustrating to fill all that out. But it's all good.
Yeah. I mean, my knowledge of cars is very limited, but I would imagine, like, you know, there are so many different kinds of cars out on the road, and now there's hybrids and there's electrics. And so, like, being in this industry, you need to know, like, all of the things about all the different cars, and I'm sure they all operate differently.
Oh, yeah. And then especially, obviously, with more technology coming in, I don't think, a lot of people say, like, oh, we're going to get rid of, you know, gasoline cars, whatever, in the future. But even just talking to, like, my professors and stuff, they're like, no, we're probably going to have them around for a lot longer than people think. But it is especially important to know those electrical components of cars because that is a lot more prevalent.
There's a lot that can go wrong on a car, I've learned
There
over
is
the
a
years.
lot, yeah. Trust me, I don't even know that much. I'm just getting into it, so.
So tell us a little bit about the class. Like how long is it and how many days do you meet?
So right now I'm doing 15 credit hours, so full-time school. So I'm doing Monday through Thursday classes. And usually my class times, it's about a 2-hour session. I do have a class this semester, though, that is 3 hours. So that one's a pretty chunky one, and it's tiring because I got to wake up at like 7 a.m. to get to that one. But that one starts at 8 o'clock, but it's a 3-hour class. So usually like 2 to 3 hours is the normal time for each class.
What are the people like? Who are your classmates?
They're mostly guys. There's usually it's like one other girl, and then there's one more girl that kind of floats in between classes, but I don't see her as much. So a lot of guys. It's pretty quiet, but also can get really loud sometimes. Generally, everyone's pretty nice, and they're pretty willing to help and like help you figure out stuff, which is really cool. And I've made some pretty close friends inside there, so that's nice. Yeah.
Would you say that you guys like work a lot together, like in a group, or is it pretty individual?
It's very group based. So our professors are very into working together as a group and figuring things out together. And then obviously it brings more experience. So like if you have someone that's brand new and has never worked on a car before, and then you've got someone that's been working on cars for a couple years or maybe works actually in the industry, and then you can kind of combine those people into groups, and then those people get put as lab partners, and then we work on cars together. So pretty team oriented.
Would you say there's a variety of ages of people in the class, or is it mostly folks in their early 20s, or what would you say about that?
There's, I would say primarily around late, like 18, 19, and then 20s. I have run into a few people though that are in like their 30s, 40s, around there as well. So, yeah.
And automotive technology, people have stereotypes of it's a very male-dominated profession. And so, as you said, you're one of a handful of women in that program. What's that like? Would you recommend it to other women?
I would. I say you've got to be determined about it, because I think it can be a little intimidating at first. Like, I remember I told my dad, I was like, hey, I want to go into this, or I want to start taking classes for this to see how it goes. And he was like, you know, that's not a lot of girls do that. I was like, yeah, but I'm a determined person. So I was like, I want to push through and see what happens. So I did, and I really enjoyed it a lot. But like I said, I wouldn't want anyone to ever get discouraged, because just like sticking it out a couple months longer, and if you are willing to learn and you can open up to that and find the right people, then you'll make some friends. So yeah.
That's great. And people treat you very well in the class, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I've never been treated badly, no.
Awesome. So we know that before you were here at GRCC, you were homeschooled.
Yes.
How has that transition been, going from kind of that space to now being at GRCC?
Yeah, normal. Obviously, I wouldn't know it any other way.
Right.
I wouldn't know a different way. So yeah, so I was homeschooled from, I don't remember, since I was tiny till obviously at the end of high school. I did kind of hybrid classes as well. So I did a lot of online school, and then I went to a place one day a week to do in-person classes as well. So that took a little bit of load off like my family or whatever. And then also at the end, my junior year of high school, I also dual enrolled over at Cornerstone. I took like a psychology class over there. I loved it. And then I had a little bit more experience with that. So it wasn't super hard, because I was pretty used to that class, like getting there on time, all of the aspects of, I guess, going to college for that one class. And then I'd just say, like, for homeschooling, it does offer a lot more creative, like, a horizon, I guess. I was always a pretty creative person, and I think having more time to do things that I really enjoyed or things that pushed me more strategically or mentally or artistically, I think that definitely helps. And I think that's part of the reason I'm more physically and like artistically based rather than wanting to learn like English. Like I love writing papers. I love creative writing. I'm really good at it, but it's not something I enjoy as much. So I think it definitely helped push me into that area of more hands-on stuff too as well. So
I know this is one area where there's a ton of demand for people with the skills that you're growing right now. What do you want to do after you graduate or earn the certificate?
So currently I'm working somewhere else. I'm not working in the automotive industry. I would like to get more hands-on experience by actually working in it. And I've got like a few different spots where I could get a job right now. I'm kind of playing out how the rest of the year is going to go, but there is you have to take a required class, and one of them is either in the classroom or one of them is almost like an internship. So then you would just intern at one of the dealerships or somewhere, and then they just kind of check in on you, and it counts as like your class credits. So I'll probably be doing that at the end of this year for the upcoming fall semester, and just playing it by ear till then. I like working on my car, and I like kind of being the one in the family that knows this, like some of the stuff. And obviously I want to gain more knowledge and I want to learn a lot more about it. But right now it's pretty casual. So I'm not like just planning out the next 20 years of my big career automotively. So right now I'm keeping it small at the moment. But
what kind of car do you have?
I have a Toyota Camry Hybrid. It's a 2010. It's a nice car.
Well, yeah, it sounds nice.
Gets really good gas mileage, which is
counts.
really good right now.
So when you work on it, what are you able to do? Do you change your own brakes? Or
I did actually.
Really?
Yeah, so I just did my brakes last semester. It was actually the first set of brakes that like I did from beginning to end. So I did like brake servicing in class on cars in our labs and stuff, but I hadn't like beginning to end done everything, and it's also my car, so it's my baby, so I don't want to ruin it. And I did it, and it was great, and I'm still living, so
Brakes still
I just
work?
say I'm like, that's my proof that I can do it, and it's fine. So I did my brake switch. I really enjoyed that a lot. It was really fun. So
And now that you know so much more about cars and how they run, do you look at them differently when you're driving down the interstate?
I do, yeah. It's definitely, you're like, it's probably not a great car. Or that one is a better car. But like my dad's always been very into researching cars before you buy them and knowing a lot about them and the way they work and stuff. Because he worked at a mechanic shop when he was 17 or 18-ish, somewhere around there. But yeah, he always lets us, he's like, you got to make sure you know what you're getting. So I've always had a little bit of a higher standard for what I want to look for in a car. Probably more practical, but yeah, you do definitely see things a little bit differently after you know how things work, and you talk about things differently as well when people ask you questions. So yeah.
People ask you for advice now too?
A little bit, yeah. It's kind of funny because I'm like, I probably shouldn't be giving you this advice. You probably should be going to someone or calling someone. But yeah, I just had a friend who called me and she was like, is my car supposed to rattle when I go 60 miles per hour down the road? I'm like, no. She's like, am I going to die? And I was like, no, you won't. Not immediately. So I do have a few friends that have called me up definitely and asked me for some advice. So I'm glad when I'm able to actually give them something. So
That is so cool.
So you see a whole bunch of different cars coming into your labs. Where do those cars come from?
So the MTech actually has a fleet of like 40 plus cars that have been donated or they have bought them, and they're pretty much just lab cars. So they're lab cars that we work on pretty much for practice and learning sake. During the summer though, for the summer classes, there is an ability, I think, for people to actually bring their own cars in from the public, and then students do work on those cars. And it's obviously at a much lower price because students are working on your car.
Right.
But the ones that we're working on for the fall and winter semesters are all owned by GRCC, so the MTech over there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then, so for your certificate, you're 2 semesters in now. How long does it take to complete that certificate?
It says it's about 10 months, so I should be done by the end of the fall semester. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it's pretty quick.
What kind of advice would you have for maybe a high school student who wonders if this is a career for them, or an older person who says, I want to go back and gain some skills. I want to change my career.
Yeah, I think I've heard a lot of different opinions. I know a lot of people say, that's basically like a trade school, or you could learn that by actually working in a dealership and picking it up, which those are all very true. But it is definitely nice to have a classroom setting, as well as having other individuals that have a similar goal, as well as different education levels on cars, so that you can gather knowledge from multiple bases. And then obviously your instructors who have had years and years of experience in this. And it just feels a little bit more personal, and like they're actually able to give you that one-on-one or that group time where they're teaching you very specifically, rather than if you know nothing about cars and you go try to work in a dealership, and you can work your way from the bottom up, which is kind of how it works. But I feel like especially for a girl in the industry, if you maybe aren't as confident in working in such a male-dominated area, being able to have a little bit of extra knowledge tacked on just from taking classes, or even taking a couple basic classes, so you feel a little bit more prepared going into that, I could definitely say that would maybe give you a little bit more confidence, or just for anyone that doesn't know a lot about cars. So
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
yeah, thanks for having
Yeah.
me talking.
I have a little game for you guys before we go.
Okay.
So I found a couple trivia questions about the automotive industry.
Oh no,
And
that's
so
not good.
I am going to have you guys compete, but it's low key.
I'm gonna embarrass myself.
No, you're not going to embarrass yourself. And so we're going to see how much you guys know about the automotive industry. And Lydia, you should do better than Dave.
I
because
probably won't.
You are
I'm
taking classes.
I'm better at hands-on, not remembering the stuff.
So according to the 2020 census, what percentage of auto mechanics in the U.S. do we think are female?
Is it like a multiple choice, or are you just making me guess?
Give me a number.
What percentage
Yeah.
in the U.S. are women? Do you know what you're gonna say?
Based on the class structure right now, I'm going to say 10%.
Okay.
Let me think.
Think it's higher or lower than that?
I think it's lower.
Okay.
7%.
It
What?
is 10%.
Oh my
And I did
gosh.
not expect Dave to guess that.
Dang.
Doing
Okay, I
okay.
wasn't far off.
Right on.
I thought it was gonna be lower, but then I guess there has been an increase.
Yeah. Right. There are, a
few more.
handful of
Yeah.
you. Okay, true or false? Auto mechanics with a college education generally make more money than those with just a high school diploma.
False.
I'm going to say true.
It is true.
Is it true?
Yes.
I'm doing pretty well so
So
far.
you were doing great.
I was being negative.
So you were doing great by getting some college education in the
Yes.
auto mechanics. Okay. True or false? More than half of auto mechanics in the U.S. are at least 40 years or older.
You said at least half, 50%.
More than half.
More than half. I would say true. True?
It is true.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say true because I know the demand is such that employers are always looking for people with these skills. And we hear from employers here at GRCC, the Tassel MTech, they're part of the advisory board, and they tell us what they need. So I imagine there are a lot of folks who are retiring or getting to that age. Those baby boomers retiring. They need folks like Lydia to come and take their spots and
Yeah.
prepare the next generations of our cars.
Yeah. And things are always changing and improving, and I would imagine that translates over into the auto mechanic industry. So
Cars are always breaking, so
yes.
you need someone to fix them.
Lydia, this has been wonderful. And thank you so much for sharing your time today and telling us your story. You're inspiring.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
My pleasure. And if people want to know more about our GRCC programs, and especially our workforce training programs, they can go to grcc.edu/workforce training, one word. Or if you want to know about all the other kinds of really cool things we do here, go to grcc.edu. And thank you very much. I'm Dave Murray.
I'm Kaylee Potgetter.
And I'm Lydia Hendrian.
My GRCC Story is hosted by Dave Murray and Kaylee Potgetter of Grand Rapids Community College and recorded by the IT Media Technologies Department with editing by Connor Bardalis. Visit grcc.tv for more.